Imagine the moment. Early morning, the heavy curtains are drawn, but a single sliver of sunlight pierces through into the bedroom. You're lying there, looking at her. She's 19. She sleeps on her stomach, sprawled out with a freedom known only to those with no aches and no haunting past. The blanket has slipped off, revealing the line of her back, the flawless curve of her hip. Her skin glows even in the semi-darkness. It seems to be made of a different material, entirely firm, supple, brimming with life, like a ripe fruit that would burst with juice if you squeezed it just a little too hard. You reach out your hand, but freeze an inch from her shoulder. You look at your own hand, at the veins that have become too prominent, at the age spots you call wisdom, but deep down you know they are the marks of time, at the skin that has grown drier and thinner, like the parchment of an old book. In this moment, in this silence, something more than just morning admiration is happening. In this moment, you feel a sting, a sharp, cold jab somewhere beneath your ribs. It's not jealousy. It's not lust. It's the realization of the chasm. We're used to thinking that a man is drawn to a young woman purely by instinct, the animalistic desire to possess the best gene pool. Freud would say you're driven by libido, a blind life energy striving for release. And he would be right, but only partially. Today, we go deeper. We will look into the places most men are afraid to look. We'll talk about why this girl is more than just a lover to you. Why her scent makes your head spin more than the most expensive alcohol. And why, despite the fantastic sex that makes you feel like an Olympic god, a strange, cloying anxiety remains inside. We will dissect this connection through the lens of psychology, but without the boring lectures. Only facts, sensations, and a truth that might be uncomfortable. I have to warn you. At the end of this video, I will reveal a secret I call the biological contract. It's the real reason nature brings a mature man and a young woman together. This knowledge might set you free, or it might break your heart. But you have to know it to stop living in illusion. Watch until the end, because this final piece of the puzzle changes the entire picture. And before we begin our descent, I have an important message for those who value depth. If you feel you've outgrown superficial content and want to support the channel, become a sponsor. It's your contribution to the kind of honest conversation between men that's becoming a rarity. Click the sponsor button to join the inner circle. And now, let's return to that bedroom. Asterisk, let's be brutally honest. The first thing a man in his 40s, 50s, or 60s encounters when a 19-year-old woman enters his life is a sensory explosion. It's not just pleasant. It's a shock to the nervous system. You've grown accustomed to women your own age. You know their bodies, their reactions, their scent. A mature woman has her own charm, her own depth, her own understanding. But the body of a 19-year-old is another planet. Freud called it the pleasure principle, which seeks immediate gratification. But something far more powerful is at play here. This is pure biological addiction. Think about the tactile sensations. When you run your palm along her thigh, your receptors register information your brain had begun to forget. Skin turgor. It's a medical term, but in bed, it means resilience, the resistance her flesh offers to your fingers. She isn't soft in the way a pillow is soft. She is firm like a taut string. You squeeze her, and she instantly springs back into shape. This feeling of dense life beneath your hands triggers a dopamine rush so powerful it literally erases your fatigue. Men often say, "I feel 20 years younger with her." This isn't a metaphor. It's chemistry. Your brain, intoxicated by the tactile contact with a fertile, young body, begins to produce a cocktail of hormones that temporarily shuts down the signals of aging. Back pain vanishes. Blood pressure stabilizes. You feel a primal hunger. And then there's something else, something not spoken of in polite society, But we're alone here. It's the body's natural response. The instantaneous reaction of a young physique. She doesn't need long foreplay. She doesn't need lubricants. Her body responds to your touch with frightening speed. For a man accustomed to the more measured pace of mature relationships, this is a revelation. The sounds she makes, they are different. There's no theatricality, no experience, no rehearsed script on how to please a man. They hold a primal sincerity. Sometimes it's surprise, sometimes fear, sometimes the unbridled joy of discovery. And you, as an experienced guide, lead her through this labyrinth of sensations. This grants a colossal sense of power. Not social power, but biological power. You are the one who opens this world to her. You are the one who makes her body sing. But it is right here, at this point of absolute triumph, that Freud would have smirked and pointed to your shadow. Because behind this ecstasy hides fear. You enjoy her body, you drink her youth, but subconsciously, you are constantly comparing. You see your own body through her eyes. And that gaze is terrifying. When your hands intertwine, you see the difference in skin texture. When you're breathing heavily after a marathon that was merely a warm-up for her, you feel the difference in stamina. Dopamine whispers to you, you are a king. But the mirror of reality whispers, you are a temporary guest. And this dissonance creates an incredible sexual tension. You want to prove to her, and more importantly, to yourself, that you're still in the game. That you're not just a sugar daddy, but a man capable of satisfying a female at her peak form. This turns every act of intimacy into a battle. A battle not with her, but with time. And that is damn exciting. Now, let's bring in the heavy artillery. Carl Gustav Jung. If Freud spoke of the body, Jung spoke of the soul. He has a concept called the anima. It is the feminine part of every man's soul, his inner image of the ideal woman that he carries within him from birth. In our youth, we project this image onto real women chaotically. But as a man ages and approaches his twilight, his anima often takes the form of a young maiden. Why? Because the anima is life itself. It is the source of inspiration, creativity, chaos, and play. An aging man feels his world becoming rigid, structured, predictable. He is entombed in the concrete of his achievements, his obligations, his status. He feels suffocated in his suit, in his office, in his settled life. And then she appears, 19 years old, pure chaos. She doesn't know what she wants. Today she wants to be an actress. Tomorrow she wants to fly to Bali. The day after she wants to save the whales. She laughs at things you find serious and cries over trifles. And you look at her and think you're in love with her beauty. But Jung would tell you, stop, you are not in love with her. You are in love with the life you have lost. You are projecting your own anima onto her. You want to touch, through her, that part of yourself that is still capable of madness. She becomes a portal for you into a world where death does not yet exist, where all doors are open, where you can make mistakes and not pay for them. Think about how you listen to her chatter. Sometimes, let's be honest, she's talking utter nonsense. In any other situation, with a business partner or a woman your age, you would have cut the conversation short after a minute. But you listen to her. You watch how her lips move, how her eyes sparkle, and this naivety seems to you the highest form of wisdom. Why? Because this naivety is the antidote to your cynicism. You use her like a fountain of youth to soften the hardened crust of your soul. And in bed, this becomes especially clear. You're not just having sex. You are trying to merge with this energy. In the moment of intimacy, when the boundaries of your bodies blur, it feels as if you too are becoming immortal, as if her time is flowing into you. It is a mystical experience, more potent than any drug. But there is a flip side to this coin. A projection is always a deception. You don't see the real her. You don't see a separate person with her own fears, complexes, and foolishness. You see the goddess of eternal youth. And this places a monstrous responsibility on her, one she isn't even aware of. She is just living, while you demand that she be your source of life. And when she suddenly behaves like a typical teenager being moody, glued to her phone, not getting your references to movies from the last century, you feel an irrational irritation, as if the mirror has cracked, as if the magic has failed. This is the inevitable conflict between fantasy and reality. This brings us to the most interesting part, to what happens behind closed doors when psychological projections collide with harsh physical reality. There, in the darkness of the bedroom, where there are no social masks, a drama full of passion and awkwardness unfolds. Sharp edges, unexpected reactions, and moments when your body can betray you. Let's talk about that, uncensored. Let's strip away the romance and leave only physiology. You close the bedroom door. Social roles remain outside. There is no director and student, no rich patron, and is kept woman. Here, there are only two biological organisms with different mileage and different battery levels. And the first thing that hits your instincts is the scent. It's not the scent of perfume. It's the deep, animalistic scent of pheromones. A woman at 19 has her hormonal system running at full throttle. Her body signals its readiness for conception every second. This scent is sweetish, milky, with notes of ozone. It's radically different from the scent of a 40-year-old woman, whose hormonal storm has subsided and been replaced by a more complex, aged aroma. For your brain, or more precisely, for its ancient limbic system, this youthful scent is like a signal flare. It awakens that primal hunger we talked about. You breathe her in, burying your nose in her neck, and feel the blood rush to your groin faster than you can even think about it. But this is followed by a tactile contrast, and this can be a trial for your psyche. You touch her thigh with your hand. Your skin is rougher, drier. Against hers, you feel like sandpaper. Her skin is smooth, without a single flaw, no scars, no traces of gravity. In the dark, you can feel her body literally radiating heat. The metabolism of a 19-year-old is a blazing furnace. She is hot, pulsating. You press your cooler, calmer body against hers, and this thermodynamic exchange creates a strange sensation. It's as if you are warming yourself by a fire. You are absorbing this heat. Freud would say you are trying to return to the mother's womb, to absolute warmth and safety. But in reality, you are trying to warm your aging bones by her fire dot, and then the action begins. The movement, the rhythm. Here, the main trap awaits you. Your memory throws flashbacks at you of how you were at 25. You remember how you could make love all night, without breaks, without fatigue. And you try to replicate that script now, at 60. You want to show her what you're made of. You want to prove that an old dog still has his tricks. But biology is ruthless. Your joints are not as flexible. Your back might give a treacherous twinge in the most awkward position. Your breath, it's short faster. And she can bend at any angle. Her body is as pliable as mercury. She can set a pace that, for you, becomes a cardio workout on the verge of a heart attack. Many men make a fatal mistake here. They start competing with the shadow of their past selves. They pump themselves with stimulants. They endure back pain just to not appear weak. But a woman, even at 19, senses this tension. She feels that you are not with her, but taking an exam. And that kills the magic. The secret to success in such a pairing is not to leap around like a young goat, but to use your advantages. And your advantage is control and deceleration. While a young guy huffs and puffs and finishes in 3 minutes, you can turn the process into a ritual. You can play on her senses like a piano, pausing where a young man would have sped up. And it is precisely this contrast, her wild energy and your icy calm, that creates the explosion. Let's touch on a topic that is kept silent even in the locker rooms: the refractory period. This is the time a man needs to recover after an orgasm. At 19, this period might be 15 minutes. You could do it, have a cigarette, and be ready for another round. At 60, this period can stretch to a full day, and this fact becomes a source of quiet panic. You see that she is still turned on. Her eyes are gleaming. She wants the party to continue. But your body says, "Stop, I need sleep. I need rest." You lie next to each other, and an awkwardness hangs in the air. She, in her inexperience, might take it personally. Does he not like me? Did I do something wrong? Why did he turn away? And you are simply trying not to die. This is the moment of truth. You have two paths. The first is the path of the neurotic. Apologize, blame fatigue from work, secretly swallow pills. The second is the path of the sage. Accept your nature. Explain to her without words that quality is more important than quantity. That one sniper shot is worth a whole machine gun clip. If you learn to manage this pause, if you learn to pleasure her with your hands, your tongue, with toys, without deploying your main caliber, you will become a god to her. Because her peers don't know how to do this. They are self-centered. They finish and fall asleep. You, by virtue of your physical limitations, are forced to be an altruist, forced to study her body to compensate for your pauses. And paradoxically, it is your weakness that makes you the best lover of her life. You give her the attention she so desperately craves, but there is a dark side. The fear of failure, performance anxiety. With a 19-year-old, it is amplified tenfold. Remember dopamine? It revs you up. But cortisol, the stress hormone, kills male potency instantly. And the stress in such a pairing is enormous. What if I can't get it up? What if I lose it midway? What if she tells her friends? These thoughts buzz in the background like a persistent fly. And the more you want to impress her, the higher the risk of failure. Jung called this enantiodromia, when a strong striving for one extreme leads to the opposite result. The more you want to be a macho man, the more likely you are to become impotent at the crucial moment. There is only one way out. Reduce the importance. Stop trying to be a porn star. Be yourself. But that is the hardest thing of all. Now let's leave the bedroom and go to the kitchen, where you're drinking coffee and talk about power. Why is she with you in the first place? Don't delude yourself into thinking you're just a cool guy and you have so much in common. You have nothing in common. You listen to Led Zeppelin. She listens to K-pop or the silence in her AirPods. You read physical books. She scrolls through TikTok. There is a cultural chasm between you the size of the Grand Canyon. But there is a bridge that connects these two shores. It is the father archetype. Jung wrote extensively about Electra, the female equivalent of the Oedipus complex. But let's simplify. A girl of 19 is in a state of chaos. The world is huge, scary, and incomprehensible. Her peers are just as terrified kids trying to act cool, but in reality, they don't know how to afford avocado toast and are afraid of responsibility. And then you appear. You are a rock. You have money. This is important, but it's not the main thing. You have answers to questions. You know how to solve problems. You know how to talk to waiters, to police officers, to banks. You create a cocoon of safety around her. She doesn't fall in love with your wrinkles. She falls in love with your rock solidness, your ability to withstand her emotions and not crumble. She is looking for boundaries. Young guys often bend over backwards for girls, trying to please them. You, as the wise old man, can say a firm no. And damn it, That is incredibly sexy to her. In a world where everything is blurred, your no sounds like the gong of truth. She subconsciously provokes you, throws tantrums, tests your strength. She wants to be sure. Are you really strong? Can you handle my hysteria? And if you remain calm, if you don't scream back, but look at her with a slight smirk and quiet strength, she melts. She feels like a little girl in the hands of a powerful giant. And this feeling of security instantly transforms into sexual attraction. But here lies a terrible trap that 90% of men fall into. The balance between sugar daddy and father. If you start acting too fatherly, lecturing her about life, controlling her every move, forbidding her from seeing friends, nagging about the right way to do things, an ancient biological mechanism will kick in, the incest taboo. Her libido will shut down instantly. You can't desire a father. You can love, respect, or fear a father, but you can't want him. The moment you become a suffocating bore, you lose her as a lover. She'll start lying, avoiding sex, having headaches. Why? Because you killed the woman in her and awakened the daughter. On the other hand, if you start trying to act young, wearing skinny jeans, dyeing your hair, learning slang, and trying to be one of the guys, she will lose respect for you. You will turn into an old clown. The father archetype will crumble, and with it, her sense of security. She will leave you for a peer, because a clown her own age is at least funny, while an old clown is just pathetic. Your task is to walk a razor's edge, to be a protector, but not a jailer, to be a mentor, but not a bore, to be strong, but approachable. This is a game of the highest difficulty, and the rules of this game change every day. And while you're balancing on this tightrope, she isn't the only one watching you. Society is watching you, the shadow of the collective. Have you noticed those stares in restaurants? A mixture of contempt and fierce, black envy. Oh, we will talk about this. Because what other people think affects your male potency far more than you realize. And it is often society that becomes the poison that taints even the strongest bond. Ready to find out why everyone around you wants you to break up? More on that next. Have you noticed that look? You walk into a restaurant with her. You're holding her hand, perhaps a little tighter than necessary, as if showing off a trophy. She is radiant, her laughter echoing through the room. And then you feel it, a heaviness. The air becomes thick. People at the next table fall silent for a second, then start whispering. The waiter looks at you with polite but cold disdain. In the eyes of women your age, you read disgust mixed with pity. In the eyes of men, aggressive mockery. Welcome to the zone of the collective shadow. Jung said that the shadow is everything society denies in itself, locks away in the basement, and hangs a sign of morality on the door. Your relationship is a walking trigger. You break that lock with your mere presence. Let's break down what's really hiding behind their judgment. It's not morality. It's envy and fear. Let's start with the men. Your peer, sitting across from his wife, with whom he hasn't slept in 6 months, looks at you and doesn't see a pervert. He sees a missed opportunity. He sees what he lacked the courage, the money, or the testosterone for. You are living proof of his defeat. You remind him that life could have been different, vibrant, dangerous, full of passion. But he chose comfort and security. His hatred for you is a defense mechanism. It's easier for him to call you an old fool than to admit he's a coward who surrendered to old age. Your physical prowess is an insult to his impotence, not just physically, but spiritually. And what about the women? Oh, here it's even more complex and tragic. A woman of 50 or 60, looking at your companion, experiences a biological horror. She sees what she has lost forever. Firmness, freshness, that glow that no amount of money can buy from a cosmetologist. And when she sees that you, a man of her generation, choose not her, with her rich inner world and life experience, but this airhead, as she consoles herself, it hits her self-esteem harder than a sledgehammer. She calls your girlfriend a predator, a gold digger, an escort. But deep down, she is screaming in pain, because you are confirming her worst nightmare. For nature, only fertility has value. It's a cruel, unfair, but biological truth that society tries to cover up with layers of etiquette. And so you find yourself in isolation. Friends stop inviting you to family dinners because their wives are uncomfortable. Your adult children look at you as if you've lost your mind. And here, an interesting psychological phenomenon occurs. This external aggression initially brings you closer. You become us against the world. You are Bonnie and Clyde. You hide in your bedroom as if in a bunker, and there, under the covers, you feel like winners. Society's condemnation adds spice. The forbidden fruit is sweet. When the whole world says, you can't, your body screams, I want. It's adrenaline. You feel like a rebel, a rock star. But remember, you can't live in a besieged fortress for long. Sooner or later, the water will run out, and the isolation will start to work against you. Now, let's talk about the invisible currency of this relationship: energy. Spiritual types love to talk about chakras and auras, but we'll stick to psychology and physics. Any system strives for balance. You have a surplus of one resource: stability, experience, matter. She has a surplus of another: time, chaos, life. When you connect, a transfer begins. But is this exchange equal? Or is someone consuming the other? A man in such a relationship often feels like an energy vampire, even if he's afraid to admit it. After a night with her, you wake up ready to move mountains. You hit the gym, you close deals, you crack jokes. You're like an old phone plugged into a nuclear power plant. You are drinking her youth, literally, through sex, through emotions, through her laughter. You are feeding on her future to prolong your present. Jung would call this an attempt to assimilate the anima, to absorb the soul, to become whole. But what happens to her? Look closely. Often, after a year or two in a relationship with a man old enough to be her father, a girl changes. She matures faster than her peers. A strange heaviness appears in her eyes. She starts dressing more conservatively, speaking more quietly. She ages next to you. You drain her lightness. You ground her with your experience, your fears, your cynicism. This isn't necessarily bad. For her, it can be an accelerated course in growing up. You give her structure. You are her spine. Without you, she would be an amorphous jellyfish, drifting with the current. With you, she takes shape. She gains access to resources and knowledge that would have taken her decades to acquire. It's a deal, a biological contract. You get her life, she gets your power. The problem starts when the balance is broken. When you start demanding too much life from her, trying to fill your own inner void. Or when she starts demanding too much power, turning into a parasite who lives off your resources, giving nothing in return but a cold body. And here we come to the most delicate point, the Pygmalion effect. You, as a sculptor, mold her into the woman of your dreams. You teach her how to dress, what to read, how to behave in society, how to have sex. You enjoy this process. You feel like a creator. But remember the myth? Galatea came to life and became her own person. The biggest fear for a man in such a relationship is that he will create the perfect woman, invest all of himself in her, and then she will realize she has outgrown her creator, that you are the past and she is ready for the future. And this fear is justified, because the student must always surpass the teacher. It is the law of evolution. And one day, looking at her, you will see not admiration in her eyes, but boredom. And that will be the beginning of the end. But until that happens, you enjoy the moment. You take everything from life. However, there is one nuance you're not thinking about. It's not psychology or mysticism. It's pure, raw biology. Rhythms, chronos versus bios. Your biological clocks are ticking at different speeds. And this lack of sync kills love more reliably than any infidelity. You wake up at 6 a.m. because of old man insomnia. She can sleep until noon because her growing body, yes, at 19, the body is still growing, needs sleep. You want quiet after dinner. She wants music and movement. At first, it seems cute. We complement each other. But after 6 months, it turns into domestic torture. Every one of her bursts of activity irritates you because you simply don't have the energy to react. And your desire for peace fills her with despair because she feels like she's being buried alive in a crypt. Let's go back to sex. But now let's look at it from a different angle. The angle of self-deception. Many men are convinced that a young partner extends their sexual longevity. As long as I'm with her, I'm a man. This is a dangerous illusion. In reality, such relationships often accelerate the body's wear and tear. You are operating at your limit. You are abusing your hormonal system, forcing it to deliver peak performance when it's set for energy-saving mode. It's like racing an old Mustang at full throttle. Yes, it looks impressive. Yes, the engine's roar is captivating. But the pistons could fly out at any moment. Urologists and cardiologists know the statistics that aren't published in glossy magazines. The number of heart attacks and strokes in men 50 who have taken young lovers is significantly higher than in those who live with women their own age. Nature collects a tax for trying to cheat time. The price of passion is your health. Are you willing to pay that price? And the most bitter part is she might not even appreciate it. Your sacrifice is invisible to her. She thinks that's how it's supposed to be. That a man should always be ready, always be strong. She doesn't know what it costs you to keep up appearances. And when you finally show weakness, and you will, it's inevitable her disappointment will be cruel. But you were a rock. What happened? She won't accept your weakness because in her worldview, you are the archetype, and archetypes don't get sick, tired, or old. You've trapped yourself by wearing the mask of Superman. Now you have to wear it until the very end, even if it has grown into your face and causes you pain. But there is something else. The secret I mentioned at the beginning, the last mirror syndrome. This is what truly keeps you by her side, even when the sex becomes routine and the difference in interests starts to grate. It is the existential reason, the profound reason, the terrifying reason, and we will approach it right now to finally rip off all the masks. Are you ready to find out why you truly need her? It's not for sex, and it's not for prestige. The answer will surprise you. Let's face the truth, even if it makes you want to look away. The greatest tragedy of these relationships isn't that people will judge, nor that the sex changes. The tragedy is in the math, the cruel, linear mathematics of time. You are on different vectors of existence. At 19, her vector is aimed straight up and forward. It is expansion. She wants to conquer territories, try professions, change cities, have children. Her biological program is create the new. Your vector, at 60, no matter how much you swagger at the gym, is aimed at preserve and transfer. You have already conquered your territories. You have already built your castles. Now your task is to hold on to them, perhaps prepare for your exit. And when these two vectors collide, a catastrophe occurs. Imagine the situation. She turns 25, the peak of her fertility. Her friends are getting married, having their first children. Hormones start whispering in her ear. Where is your offspring? And you? You are 66. You already have grandchildren from your first marriage. You want quiet, comfortable travel, and good wine. You don't want to hear a baby crying at night again, change diapers, and attend parent-teacher conferences in your 70s. And here, an unsolvable conflict arises. If she stays with you and gives up on having children for the sake of your love in 10 years, she will hate you for stealing her chance at motherhood. It will be a quiet, cold hatred that will poison everything. If you agree to have a child, you will become a hostage to a situation where the father looks more like a great-grandfather, afraid he won't live to see his son's graduation. In either case, it's a loss. It's a zugzwang. Any move leads to a worse position. And there's another nuance, one that's terrifying to think about. Physical frailty. Right now, you're in shape. You take care of yourself. But aging is not a gentle slope. It's often a cliff. One stroke, one injury, one bad diagnosis, and you transform from a strong protector into a patient. Is a 19-year-old girl ready to become a caregiver? Is she ready to change your bedpan, drive you to doctor's appointments, listen to your geriatric grumbling? No, she didn't sign up for this. She was looking for a hero and got an invalid. And when she leaves, and she will leave, because the life instinct always triumphs over a sense of duty, you will be left alone in a shattered world. And it won't be a betrayal on her part. It will simply be the triumph of biology over illusions, the most sophisticated form of torture a man experiences in such a union is jealousy of the future. You know that you are not the final destination. You are a transit passenger. You look at her and realize, one day when you are gone, or when she no longer needs you, she will belong to another, to someone who, perhaps, is still in high school or just starting his career. This phantom, other, always stands in the shadow of your bedroom. You're not competing with her exes. You're competing with her future husband, with the one who will get her when she is mature, experienced, and fully formed. Formed by you.
You invest resources, taste, style, and education in her. You polish this diamond, but another man will wear it on his finger. This realization triggers bouts of black melancholy. You understand that you are just the booster stage on her rocket. Your job is to get her into orbit and then burn up in the atmosphere. It's a noble role, the role of Pygmalion, the role of mentor. But for the male ego, it's humiliating. You want to be the main hero of her life, but you are merely the prologue. And to numb this pain, you start to tighten your grip. You become jealous, suspicious. You check her phone. You scan every waiter younger than you with your eyes. You turn love into a concentration camp, trying to stop time. But time cannot be stopped. It can only be lost. And so we have reached the end, the very secret for which we began this conversation. Why, despite all the risks, the pain, the judgment, the biological incompatibility, do men continue to seek out young women? Freud would say it's about sex. Jung would say it's the anima. But there's a deeper level, an existential one. I call it the last mirror syndrome. Look, when you look into the eyes of a woman your own age, you see the truth. You see your past, your mistakes, your illnesses, and most importantly, you see your own imminent death. A woman your age is a mirror of reality. She reminds you that the finish line is near, and the human psyche cannot stare at the sun or at death for long. We need an illusion. We need hope. When you look into the eyes of a 19-year-old, you don't see her, you see yourself. But not the self who takes blood pressure pills. You see your young self. In her adoring gaze, you are reflected as a strong, eternal, powerful God. As long as she looks at you with admiration, death does not exist. You use her eyes as a time machine. You steal her sense of life's infinity to patch the hole of your own fear of non-existence. She is for you a living shield against the thought of death. You're not having sex with her. You're having sex with death, trying to prove to it that you are still alive. This is the last mirror. You want someone, before the lights go out, to remember you like this: strong, influential, desired. You want to imprint your image in her young memory, to live on in her even after your body has turned to ash. Is it selfish? Absolutely. Is it cruel? Yes. But it is so deeply human. We all want to leave a mark. And for a man who doesn't have the chance to build an empire or write a great book, a young woman becomes the only way to leave that mark. I was the first to show her the world. I was the one she loved most of all. This is your claim to immortality. So, what should you do with this truth? Run for divorce, or conversely seek a young lover? Neither. The purpose of this conversation is not to give advice, but to lift the veil from your eyes. If you're in such a relationship right now, stop lying to yourself that it's just love. Acknowledge your shadow. Admit that you are using her energy. Admit that you are afraid of aging. Once you admit this, the tension will disappear. You'll stop playing the role of Superman and can simply be a man. Maybe then you will have a chance at real intimacy, not a role-playing game. And if you're just thinking about it, ask yourself one question, a brutal question. Are you ready to become a good memory for her? Are you ready to give her everything and then let her go to another when the time comes, without cursing or holding her back? Are you ready to be the gardener who grows a flower not for himself, but for the world? If yes, you are a great man, and this experience will make you a sage. If no, if you want to possess and hold on, you are just an aging vampire, and the end of your story will be sad. Loneliness in an empty apartment full of photos of a girl who has long been happy with someone else. Look at your life, right now, not in the mirror, but deep inside yourself. What do you fear more, dying or being forgotten? The answer to that question will determine your choice. A relationship with a 40-year age gap is always a deal with the devil. You get a moment of absolute happiness in exchange for guaranteed pain in the future. Is that moment worth such a price? Everyone decides for himself. But remember, the bill for this banquet always comes, and you will be the one to pay it, with loneliness, with your health, with your heart. This was an honest conversation. Perhaps the most honest one of your life. If you felt that sting, if something inside you clenched and resonated, then we hit the mark. It means you're alive, and that's what matters. We don't ask for likes for entertainment. We ask for respect for the truth. If you're with us, you know what to do. And if you want to look even deeper, to a place that scares even us, then welcome to the circle of sponsors. Take care of yourself. And don't be afraid of mirrors. Be afraid of not recognizing yourself in them.